So on this one, we see the magic word have with a partner in crime, has. Don't get fooled by endings or extra words. We got the have versus the has. Now we see that according is a verb, which is an action word. So we got to go to that comma. And the very next word, the minute amounts of residue. Okay, when I first took this test, I picked residue. And I got it wrong because I picked has. As soon as you see the magic word of, which you see often on the ACT, you have to go to the preceding words. Okay? The preceding words would be the minute amounts. Would that be singular or plural? So it's the minute amounts of residue. That would be plural because of this S right here. Okay? But if you are in question whether it's a singular or plural, you can try to make it the opposite. So in this case, we think it's plural right now, so we're going to try to make it singular. A minute amount of residue would be singular. The minute amounts of residue is plural. So if it's plural, it'll have to be the longer of the two, have versus has. So that would be A, would be the correct answer on this one. Okay. So this next one is a little different. It doesn't have our normal ones, but we can see themselves versus him or herself, their selves, and oneself. Let's go ahead and let's first identify the subject. Let's go to the comma. Who is in need of refreshment? So you go to the comma. Settlers traversing the American West by train in the mid-1800s often found themselves in need of refreshment. Okay, so settlers would be the subject on this one. Is that singular or is that plural? That would be plural because it's got the S. Okay, so now we don't have the magic words, so we're going to do something a little different, and that's what's nice about the worksheet you're going to be going through. You're going to be exposed to so many different kinds of singular, plural, so that you can be familiar and be able to recognize it when you see it on the test. Okay, so themselves, is that singular or plural? Themselves. That would be plural. Okay, them is more than one. Himself or herself, that would be singular, because we already have his versus her or him versus her as singular. Their selves. Have you ever written that word their selves? They're trying to trick you on that one. Their selves is a nonsense answer. That's a nonsense word. That you've never written that before. Or oneself. Is that singular or plural? That would be singular. One person is singular. Okay? So now we know that the subject is plural, and we only have one plural option, so that's going to be the answer. Okay, so it's themselves. Settlers traversing the American West by train in the mid-1800s often found themselves in need of refreshment. Perfect. Okay, so here, this one has a descriptive clause in it. Can you see it? If you want to, you can stop it here and see if you can do it yourself. All right, so you've tried. So these Harvey houses, which constituted the first restaurant chain in the United States. We're going to cross that out. That's a descriptive clause right in there. Okay, so now we have, what is the subject? What was unique for its high standards of service and quality? That would be the Harvey houses. Is Harvey houses singular or plural? It would be plural because it has the S. So that would be plural. Now, this is a little tricky because we see was. What is the partner in crime for was? Was versus were, okay? But now we're going to get rid of was because we know it's plural. So we're going to get rid of this one and we're going to get rid of this one. Now we're down to two. They're being sneaky. They got a secondary magic word in there, don't they? So we got their versus its. Now we need the two longer words together, because that means that they would be plural. So we'd have to pick were unique for their, because this is plural, and the subject is plural. This is plural, but this is singular. You can't do that. And this one's singular and this is plural. That's called non-verb agreement, which is illegal. Okay? So in this case, it would be this one. Okay? Moving down to the next one, this is interesting because we have a primary subject and a secondary subject. While MCP keeps apples tight and crisp for months, it also limits their scent production. Okay, so we have MCP is representing the it, and what is it representing their scent? Whose scent production are we talking about? We're talking about the apples scent production. Okay, so that one's tied to this one's tied to that one. Okay, so apples, is that singular or plural? That would be plural. Ooh, we forgot to cross out our nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. So it's going to be the typical there versus its. We've identified apples as the subject that we're discussing here. That's going to be plural. So it's going to have to be the longer of the two. So that would be the answer. Okay. The next one has a descriptive clause in it, but it also has the word of in the subject. So those are going to give us a few clues. Yet some of the earliest known works of art, including paintings and drawings tens of thousands of years old, okay, found on cave walls in Spain and France. So here we're looking for works of art would be our subject. And between the commas, okay, so that's the subject, and we're going to go all the way down. And we can say works of art portray animals, right? Okay, so this is a little different than our magic words, isn't it? In this case, we're talking about verbs. We got portrays, that's an action word. That's the plural version. Now, which one is the singular version? Portraying? No, that's got an ing on it. Portray, yes, that's the singular version. Versus, that would be the partner in crime to portrays. So we're going to get rid of that because we don't see a have portrayed. Now, if it had have portrayed or has portrayed, it would be this one. But since we see an action word with an S, we got to find an action word singular. So that would be between these two. Now, this is a little tricky. We're going to have to go back up to a reference sheet. When you're talking verbs or action words, you've got to say people, which is the subject, talk. People talk, or a person talks. So we've got the subject is plural, has to be the opposite for the verb. Or if the subject is singular, then the verb has to be plural. Okay? So in this case, we got works of art is plural. So what does the verb have to be? The verb will have to be singular because the subject is plural. So it's going to have to be see. Okay? Okay, so the next one, this is an interesting one. Okay, so we've got a transition to start it off, right? Okay, so likewise, anyone, okay, now that's a pronoun, right? So anyone, is that a singular or is that a plural? Now, likewise, anyone considering a career as a video game designer. So you now have the pronoun that gives you the clue that that's singular, right? Because one is singular, or video game designer, which is also singular. Okay, so what we got to figure out is, can one person be skilled writers and speakers? Can one person be skilled writers and speakers? No, because it's one person. So we're going to have to cross that one out. And then skilled both as writers and speakers. Nope, one person can only be one person. So it has to be singular. And both writers and speakers? Nope, cross it out. So the only viable one would be a skilled writer and speaker, because that is the only singular version on here. Okay, so the last one on this page, we've got a verb again, starting the sentence. So we got to go to the comma. The researchers is now the subject. The researchers is singular or plural? That would be plural, right? Because of the S. Now, so who had found a new species? The researchers. Okay, so we know this is plural. Is one singular or plural? It's not a magic word, but you can think to yourself, is one singular or plural? That would be singular. Okay. We know he or she, is that singular or plural? Again, that's singular. Okay. They, that would be more than one, wouldn't it? They went to the football game together. So that would be multiple people. So we're going to put a plural right there. And it. We know it is singular. So just like the previous one, we had 3 options that were plural and 1 was singular, so that would be our answer. In this case, we have 3 singulars and 1 plural. So that's the answer. Okay.